Here we go for reassembly. First, put the screw back into your drive gearing system. Make sure it's finger tight, don't over tighten this because you want this thing to move still. Still moves fine. Then for gearing system now in the open position or the closed position, depending on which way you look, make sure it's dust free. Give it a blow. And pop this back in here. The screw hole should line up to the underneath. Pop your screw back in. Bad camera angles. Right, screws back in. Very important is not to touch anything inside the drive because you probably mess it up if you do. So just undo the screws what I showed you and that's done. Now put the lid back on and that'll be fine. Right, here's the lid. One last thing what you would need to do is press this little bit out. Unfortunately I won't be able to show you this because I've already accidentally done it. So take that little bit out, and when you do, these will click forward to this position from pretty much this position. That's the noise you should get. See the little spring's gone closed now rather than the open position we probably would have had before. Then just lay that bit on top. So as said, get your top. Be very careful with your little red and black wire here. If you leave this little tag of paper on it underneath the line, then that will stop it from pulling away from the motherboard and breaking. If it breaks, you've got problems, as I say before. One of the most important bits. Right. Clip this bit onto here, this bit onto here, this bit onto here, this bit onto here. You can't really get this wrong because it's all lined up. Screws back in. Right, now the screws are done up, you get your little lid thing. This is the little lid what goes over the DVD when you put it in. You just lay it on there like so. It's very slightly magnetic, so it should drop into place. Then you would get this little thing and put it on here. There is a tip, but the tip's ridiculously hard to do. If one of the wires was to break out of the holder, you can unravel the wires here, untwist them, and then if you're very, very lucky, you can solder the broken end to the back of the actual circuit board on this. Very hard to show you because it's so small. Can hardly see it, but if they was to break out, there's tiny little points underneath that white block, and you can actually, with a little bit of luck, solder point onto them. But you don't want to break it in the first place, and then you might have to go through this major hassle. So be very careful with it and pop it back on. Right, way too hard to show you exactly, but you get this little bit of plastic here, you lift it up, pop this in. It's got two tiny pegs, one here and one here, for your guidelines so you can't get it wrong. You pop it in, you lay it down flat, you be very, very, very careful with it so you don't break that wire, and then you put your little screw back in. and you do it up, and it's done. And you can breathe a sigh of relief because you didn't break it. Then pop this little white sticker, which shouldn't have broken, just peeled off, back where it should be on there. Right then, just to reattach the top, I'm going to do that without the camera. I'm being excluded from this thing. What's the point in starring me? If you get confident enough, you can be on the camera. Shut up. Well, that's really pleasant. One last thing before we put this on. Just check to make sure the wire hasn't pulled out from here. That's the ribbon cable, but more importantly is that tiny dot where the red and black wire goes into. Pulls out of there or breaks, as I say, you're in trouble. But see, don't have to touch very much. It's all in now, safely back in the plastic case. But at this stage, you can't really break it. Right then, casing's back on. Make sure these tabs here have gone over the metal tabs from this heatsink. So you want this heatsink to be underneath these tabs. If they're over the top, then you have to take it back off or pull it back off a little bit and replace the metal tabs. Then we're going to screw it all up, and that's it. Your fix is done. Your game is back in your hand and not trapped in your drive. And that's it. That's how you fix your Blu-ray drive. It's easy, and you can get your game out, and you can sell your drive if your PlayStation's dead, or you can fix your PlayStation with the yellow light of death fix. Look up our other video to find out how to do this. Hope you've been useful today. This fix seems to have worked. Woohoo! 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 Thanks for watching.